Hey everybody, welcome to the Bret Lueder Show. This is episode number 13. I'm really excited about today's guest. I met her in 2015 at Mount Shasta at a UFO conference, and she was chaperoning and maybe a protege of Onec, the lady from Venus. And we're here to get the story about all things Venus today. She is the co-author of this beautiful book, Venusian Wisdom and Love. Simply Wisdom and Love, excuse me. It's about Venusian spirituality. There's a surprising crossover with other religions on Earth, especially Christianity. We're going to get the story about all this and more with my today's guest, Anja Schafer. Anja, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bret, for having me.
It's really a pleasure. I haven't seen you since 2015. We had such a wonderful time hanging out with you and Omnec and Irmgard, and later in Chico with our friend Harold, our dearly departed friend Harold. And for me being a guy in this society, uh, I was raised on competition and men, don't cry, and we have to be rough. I've worked in construction a lot, so to hang out with you, wonderful and very soft, tender ladies, was really a treat for me. And so my first question for you was the first question I had for Omnec in my interview with her back in 2015 is, what is love?
Love is the source of creation. Love is what we are in our essential being.
Okay, that's very succinct. Uh, so do you equate love with God? And is that a Venusian thing, or is that for all of us?
Well, that's for all of us, of course, because according to Venusian spirituality, God is the source of creation, is love. It's all words pointing to the same source of creation, which we truly, in the essence, are. So, according to Omnec, I can show you this right away. This is an illustration, trying it to make it a little visual, that we visualize the center of creation, which is God. So this is the white middle, the white center. And when we are going towards the outside, we can visualize or imagine that these are all the other dimensions or the other levels of consciousness, like the mental, the emotional, the causal, and all that. And the outer rim would be the physical. So this is showing you where we are coming from, where we are going, and what we essentially are. We are essentially all a spark of this source of creation, traveling through the levels of dimension, making experiences, and helping source creation God to expand.
Okay. Yeah, so I did a little reading in your book last night in preparation for this, of course. And so the basic concept is that God created us as a reflection of him, but for the specific purpose of experiencing the opposite of what we really are. And so and correct me if I'm wrong, so all of what we call reality on this earth in the physical is really the opposite of what we really are as a spiritual soul being. Did I understand that correctly?
Well, yes, sure. In a way, yes, because here in the physical, we are of course facing polarities. So we have the opportunity, the chance, we can choose to experience our total amnesia or forgetting who we truly are. So we face what we are not. We are encountering the negative to realize what we truly are. This is what the polarity or the physical realm supports us with, or gives us the opportunity to make experiences of what we are not, so that we realize what we are.
That sounds so simple. And
It
yet,
is, in a way. It's just we are making it complicated because we are so
right.
mentally full with mental crap and with forgetting and everything. So what Omnec is bringing us, or brought us, as a Venusian soul, as a Venusian being, it's her mission to remember us, who we really are. So her essential um, trait or capability as a soul, as a human being, is to bring light and love. And this is we have a soul realization, when we feel drawn to her voice or to her energy, or maybe even to mine nowadays, because I'm following her footsteps in a way, you know, spiritually. So this can help us realize who we truly are.
You know, so it seems to me like when I first met you, you were kind of a protege of Omnec, an understudy, if you will. And now, as Omnec has kind of wrapped up her phase of this overall mission, you're kind of taking her place. You're kind of carrying on the torch. What is that mission of Omnec, and how, in what way are you going to be carrying that mission forward?
Well, it's, you know, it's interesting that you say that. Did you realize that yourself, or did somebody tell you?
Well, I'm just trying to put two and two together. You know, we're immortal beings, but not necessarily in the flesh. And so, studying a wide variety of things in my life, I realize, you know, the secret brotherhoods or sisterhoods, they carry information from one generation to the next, because humans can't live that long to carry out the overall mission. So it just kind of seemed obvious to me that Omnec's not going to live to be 1,000 years old, let's say. So she's going to pass the torch or pass the mantle on to somebody else. And I guess that's you, right?
Well, I guess that's really a very interesting realization, because I was never really aware of that kind of honor, you know. In a way, it's an honor for my maybe for my physical Anja being, it's like, wow, you know.
Right.
But on a soul perspective, it's like arranged. It's like happening, you know. And this year, I don't know, do you know Dr. Raymond Keller already? Have you met him
I
already?
met him briefly in Mount Shasta 2 years ago, or 2 summers ago. What a sweet, gentle man. Yes, I have a couple of his books. Yes.
Yes. You met him when he was there with Omnec in 2018? No, you
No,
were there 20, you said, right?
2020. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He met Omnec in 2018 when she was in Mount Shasta for the last time.
Okay.
So the thing is that, you know, Omnec is the messenger of the Venusians, and Ray is the historian of the Venusians. Omnec was brought to Earth in a physically manifested body as a 7-year-old child. And Ray is, of course, born on Earth, yet he has been dealing with Venusians and with ufology and science and everything for his whole life. So he is also incorporating a lot of Venusian spirituality and energy. And so, you know, things are orchestrated from above, like. And so I was brought in contact with Ray 1 year ago, because Omnec is withdrawing herself more and more from the outside world, as you already perceived, you know. So, and Ray this year, when he was here in Germany with me, because I translated his book to German and everything.
Wonderful.
And he saw it, actually, you know. He has a very extreme intuitive being and capabilities. He even had a trip to Venus, so he already spent 10 weeks on Venus, so he's very Venusian. And he saw this coming like an energy coming to me, over me, merging with me, the field of Omnec's mission. So it's just pretty new that I'm kind of, you know, upgraded. I feel like this year is an upgrade for Anja, and I feel many, yeah, it's a big expansion of consciousness for myself, that I'm now at this position that I'm talking for the Venusians, like.
Yeah, so no pressure, right? Speaking for a whole planet, and no, you know, how do you feel about that?
No, I'm not speaking for the whole planet.
No, that's okay.
Omnec is just a missionary. Of course, she's a special one, and for some reasons, I'm her friend since 30 years now, almost. And yeah, you're absolutely right. When you met us, I was still learning. I was still a protege, a student, her friend, companion, and now I'm, yeah, grown a little bit, grown.
You're growing into who you're supposed to be, right?
That's true. Yes.
As we all eventually do. So when you said you met Omnec about 30 years ago, when was that, in Germany? Did you meet her in America?
Actually, the first encounter was in a TV I saw her in a TV show in Germany. So this is approximately 30 years ago. This was in 93, 94, when I saw her for the first time in a German TV show. When I actually met her for the first time physically in 97, 98.
Okay, very interesting. So I have a similar experience. I saw Omnec on the Jerry Springer show in America back in the 80s. And I was a teenager at the time, and I was blown away by it, right? I'm like, wow, this lady's claiming she's from this other planet. Her soul comes in. She's
Did you see the show live?
I saw the show live. Well, I don't know if it was actually live, but it was at the time that it was taped.
Really?
So
Oh my
I
God.
don't
I have a
remember.
very old, very bad recording. You don't have a better one, right?
I've recently watched it again on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube.
I have it. I have a copy, but it's a very old, very bad. And I had it on my YouTube channel. And so YouTube banned me because it was, forbidden.
Really? From that?
Because of the TV channel. The TV channel complained.
Wow. Okay.
The Jerry Springer owner channel.
So like a rights issue, I see.
It was a rights issue.
Okay, I see. Okay. So at least that's not straight censorship by YouTube, because you're hearing a lot of that these days.
No. This was really the channel that was complaining, and so YouTube had to what is it? Bestrafen? Not not
I love when you speak German. So some kind of copyright issue, something like that.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Just where are you in Germany right now? What town?
I'm close to the Swiss border in southern Germany at the Bodensee, like Lake Constance area. It's
okay. All the way from, what's it called?
It's in the south.
Oh, in the south. Okay. Wonderful. We're having a great connection all the way from California to Germany right now. This is pretty awesome. Okay, so have you had a contact experience with a Venusian?
Well, except for with Omnec and Ray, not that I know of.
Right.
So these are my physical contacts, I was not taken in a spaceship yet, or I can't really recall astral whatever stuff. I'm more here in the physical ground crew.
And you hear that a lot with contactees. They may have been implanted information with the contact in their dream state. Maybe they did have a physical encounter, maybe on a ship, or maybe in their front yard or backyard, or whatever, in the mountains somewhere. But they're part of the download is that you aren't supposed to remember until a certain time. And so me being trained in public relations at Chico State University in Northern California, I actually got to shake the hand of E.L. Bernays before he passed away. He was 94 when he came and visited my school. When I hear about the timed release of information, that rings my bell. That's a public relations program. So then I look at what Omnec was doing, what you're now doing, what Raymond Keller's doing, maybe what Val Thor and Dr. Frank Stranges, we'll get to that in just a little bit. All this is like a timed release of information from the Venusians, let's say, the gatekeepers of this information, to try to, and correct me if I'm wrong, to try to wake humanity up from the so-called slumber. You hear that described in many different ways. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely. Perfect.
Okay. So what is the goal? I guess I just said what the main goal is, but is there other people besides, say, you, Raymond, Omnec, Val Thor, is there other Venusian contactees that are engaged in the same type of activity you are as part of this overall campaign?
Well, good question. I'm not aware of others. These are my contact persons. These are my spiritual information bringers, whatever, bringers of truth, my teachers. So I got enough to do with them, I don't need more of that. It's enough to integrate all that stuff, and it's inner work. It's a lot of inner work, when you're going through your own consciousness expansion processes and awakening and everything, sometimes I'm so full, I have to really shut myself down a little bit and get it all cleared within me. So this was one reason why it was really and I was in a training, you can say, for my whole life, but mostly, of course, since I met Omnec, and I had to go through years of incorporating, digesting everything. So it's enough.
Right.
And it's coming step by step. It's like, you're getting downloads and it's unpacked in the system and flooding with energy, and everything has to find its place. You don't want to lose your mind. I was almost losing my mind 22 years ago when I had my first spiritual awakening. It was really very, very sharply close, near to almost knocking at the psychiatry door, so I was really kind of protected. You have to deal with that light.
Speaking for myself, the emotional component of a human seems to be very tricky, when not only are you coming into your own awakening emotionally and spiritually, but when you have to face your own programming. And again, speaking for myself, coming awake to things like the control over society with money, or the propaganda from various factions in the American government, let's say. I'm sure it's the same around the world in different governments. But that's like combined with your own emotional spiritual growth inward. And that seems to be a really tricky thing. And so if I just imagine, if you're a Venusian looking in on Earth at this situation, you're thinking, my God, how do you penetrate this kind of programming without sending the human off on a crazy rampage of loss of control and feeling helpless? And that seems to be a really tricky situation. Did Omnec talk to you about that at all?
Can you ask put this in a question?
Sure. So I wish I could speak German someday, but if you're a Venusian looking inward at the Earth and seeing a human in this situation, having to deal with societal programming, having to deal with their own inner growth, and then the trickiness of having to deal with that human's emotional content, when you're, as a Venusian, let's say, you're trying to wake that person up without driving them insane, that seems to be a really, really tricky situation. Have you talked with Omnec about that specifically? Like, did she give you specific advice about that?
Well, actually, that's a very, very good question, Bret, because, this is, I think, I know from them above. I mean, it's not only the Venusians to begin with, right? It's all benevolent extraterrestrials who are mostly partly also our ancestors. It's not only the Venusians. It's all who have something to do with the Earth. But of course, the Venusians are, of course, the closest ones, because the planet Venus is the closest planet, and it's like a sister planet. Ray's talking about that a lot, because the proximity of Venus and Earth is like, what happens on Earth has also an effect on Venus and on the whole solar system. So of course they have been observing with a big concern what's going on Earth. It's not only that human beings were totally unaware of who they truly are and about their consciousness and everything. It was mostly starting when human beings started to develop nuclear weapons and all this kind of stuff that was really putting the planet in danger for destruction. So they had to figure out ways how to raise the consciousness of people on Earth without interfering, without simply landing, without putting themselves on pedestals, or without, coming down from a cloud. So they had to figure out ways to reach the people. And Omnec always made it so funny. She always said, we can't just open your minds and throw all the crap out of all the stuff out of your brain and put the real stuff in it. This would be manipulation again. So this is exactly what we don't want to do. We have to find ways to reach you on a soul level, so that you expand from your inner, so that you awaken from your inner, of course, without getting nuts and without losing your mind, and with the gentle ability coming with it, program, so that you can find ways to deal with all that. And so they had to bring teachers, they had to bring new information from so many sources of energy and teachers. And plus, and this is the most important factor in this case, and this is why Omnec was brought, and this is why Val Thor was in the Pentagon from 57 to 60, as you know, and other contactees and everything. This was all the main contact area began in the 50s, right? As you know, this is really when all this nuclear science started to become really dangerous. And so they had to find ways, and they tried different ways of bringing information. So it's a big project. I mean, saving the earth and raising people's consciousness and earth consciousness. It's a multi-dimensional, multi-level time thing project. It's a big project.
Right. I can only imagine how tricky that is. So then
difficult.
You mentioned the nuclear threat. It seemed like several contactees back in the 50s were talking about that was one of the main messages they were getting from the beings they were contacting, whoever the beings might have been. There's a variety of them, supposedly. That it was the nuclear threat that really sped up this contact approach. That they were concerned that we were not just going to hurt ourselves, but that the nuclear explosions were actually affecting other dimensions, and that we were unaware of that, right?
Yeah. And Ray always said it's like people, like little children playing with matches in a dynamite chest. You know what I mean? Okay. They're playing around with fire without knowing what they do. And so this threat alarmed the benevolent extraterrestrials and the Venusians and all them, and they had to figure out ways also to nullify, in a way, sometimes maybe major damage. So everything that's how I am informed, and that's how I feel, that everything that's against divine plan, they interfere in a way, but they don't interfere in human beings' free will. But if there's really a nuclear bomb fired by some idiot, who doesn't know what to do, they have the technology to nullify that and to make it, to neutralize it. This is what they have been doing. This is as far as I know. But concerning the human consciousness, they can't just, boost your spiritual awakening. You would go crazy. You would burn. Your body could burn. It's like, like a light bulb. It's a light bulb that's it has to be able to receive and to deal with a lot of electricity. And this is how our bodies are. Our physical bodies are really frequent. We are frequency vibrational beings, and we have to learn to deal with higher consciousness, which is light, and this is like electricity.
Right. So George Adamski, I think, was the first. Would he be considered the first Venusian contactee?
As far as I know, publicly, right. Definitely, yes.
Yeah, and so that was a big part of his message, was the nuclear bombs, don't set them off, we're on the wrong path. But then you get the government, whether you want to call it the CIA, the black ops in the government, whoever it may be. CIA is always the 3-letter alphabet agency, that's the name that's thrown around. They come in and try to disrupt that. They try to make Adamski out to be a buffoon, a hoaxer. Who is really behind that, and what is their agenda?
Well, I think you probably know it, right, Bret?
I have my own ideas for sure. I just wanted to hear what you maybe have to say about that.
Well, I know people who know much more about these dark agendas. I even have some I can recommend. I can bring you in contact with these. So I can only tell you that I'm following, as you know, Omnec steps. So I have never really dived very, very deep into the darkness, or into the who is really behind it. Is it negative ETs? Is it reptilians? Is it negative? She always said it's negative forces, you know, just
Right.
to bring like it make it just simple and nice, and you know, don't put faces on it or names on it or labels on it. It's like negative forces who are working against the freedom or the liberation of souls. But on the other hand, it's also their job to do that, because the more they put pressure under on human beings and souls in a way, the more we find our path. So it's all in a way balanced. There's nothing in this universe that's not okay or not allowed. So you know what I mean? Who they specifically are, well, certainly evil aliens probably who are behind all that.
Okay.
And they are infiltrating human beings, and human beings are sometimes manipulated, or they are kind of selling their souls, you know, all these kind of things. And then they have this job to do, and they don't even know who they are. Sometimes they know, I don't know. Sometimes they even know that they are on the dark side.
So it's kind of ironic. So really what you're saying is we should all be thanking Joe Biden for screwing up our country, because it's forcing us to rise up and take our power back.
Yeah, it takes our power back, you know. I really see that, because as long as we are into this judging and criticizing, we are still in the polarity, we are still on the wrong path. We have to erase our consciousness and see everything from the divine, from the God's perspective. And there is no judgment. There's only acceptance and really true connection to higher source, to source energy. Okay. And then we become creators, and then we become really conscious, creative, happy beings, because we are souls, and soul is light and light is happiness. So this is our true self and our true identity. And this is how we ascend from the inner.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So you touched on a couple points, light and dark. We're already talking about souls. I remember in my conversation with Omnec that there's a crossover between this Venusian spirituality and Christianity, and maybe other religions on earth. But Jesus in particular, the son of the morning star's Venus. I remember Omnec saying that some souls at least go to Venus after they pass on earth. What is this connection between Christianity and Venus?
Oh, wow, this is so huge, you know. This is another huge thing. Of course, you know, Ray just wrote a book. It's called The Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene. So he is revealing lots of information about all these connections, you know. And Omnec wrote just this text, which is freely online on my website, and it's in the book that you got, The True Story of Christ. So according to her, his father came from Venus. She said that Jesus was connected to Venus. So in this way, you know, because his father was a Venusian, and that he came to Earth, and so that there's this line, so to say. Of course, we all know that Jesus was brought as not only as a messenger, but also as a son of God, as we know, a son of God, which is probably very important to realize, because we are all sons and daughters of God. And this is what Jesus brought. He brought the information that we are all creators, that we are all children of divinity. We are all sparks of this divine essence. So Christianity and Venusians, in this way, of course, there is a big connection, but the church stuff and all this religious stuff, this is, of course, basically most of it based on manipulation and with the target and the goal to manipulate people and to keep their souls trapped in a certain way. So we have to rise above that as well, and to free ourselves from everything, because we don't need no mediator between ourselves and source of creation. We don't need that anymore. It's over.
Okay. I think that's I think a lot of people can understand that intellectually, but to really take that in spiritually and emotionally, I think that's what starts to trigger programming.
Sure.
And man, religion has all the religions appear to be messed up in a certain way by man, right? Man gets his little grubby hands in there and distorts things for power this way or another. Vatican being right at the top of that list. Um, okay, so but again, it's the just to simplify, it's the dark forces, and so you're coming out and insinuating, at least if not directly saying, that the dark forces really are sanctioned by God as a way to teach the bulk
Yeah.
of creation about itself, again showing the opposite of what we really are, and using that to thrust us forward into our evolution.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Okay. So
Absolutely, because in the essence there is nothing but God. There is not, the separation of there is maybe God and the devil or something like that. This is not true. True is that there is God, and God is above everything. And in the polar world here in the outer rim, so to say, in the physical realm, and especially, I mean, we certainly have planets that are physical, but where people are living with full consciousness, as Omnec always said, that how it used to be on Venus as well, that the Venusians were living a living society once, millions of years ago. And we also had high consciousness beings on Earth when first Earth was colonized. It was just afterwards that there was a dark age coming, and a manipulation of genetics and everything. So we lost our contact, and we lost everything. We lost our heritage, and now it's being returned because we all want to evolve. And to evolve, we have to realize again who we truly are, and that we are souls, and that we have all a direct connection to source energy, because this is what we truly are in our essence. So we don't need anything and nobody in between anymore.
okay. You mentioned genetic interference, let's call it. I think the picture I get, correct me if I'm wrong, is earlier in our human evolution, there may have been some negative genetic interference, and then but today we see, maybe with the abductions or contacts as the more positive spin on that, we're getting upgrades to maybe try to repair some of that. Were
Of course.
were the Venusians involved in any of that in the past? Are they involved in that today?
Well, as the helpers, they are certainly involved today, because they are helping us they are bringing light and truth. So they are helping us to get over this separation consciousness, and to Ray also writes about it in his book, the DNA, for example, that they are not know that they don't know about this, this, what is it, this the strand, that their sleeping parts are
Sure.
unimportant or null
The
parts.
junk
So
DNA.
the junk DNA, which is
Yeah.
probably in reality no junk DNA. It's
Right.
just something that has to be decoded, and it's going to be decoded by the influence of light. So the more light flows into us, the more this is all encoded, and then we are being returned to our full awareness and our full capabilities as human beings. So we were just lowered down, shut down for a long time, and now we are this is enlightenment. This is when the light is coming back, also in the DNA.
And so what strikes me is that, in line with a potential public relations program campaign, that maybe that's not supposed to be awake until a certain time. So again, the timed release of information seems to play into my thesis that it's just a giant cosmic public relations campaign. So very interesting. Okay, we got a couple minutes left here. You're gonna stick around for a second segment.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'd love
wonderful.
to.
So in case people just want to see this first segment, give them your website and how they can get a hold of you.
Well, my website is venusspirit.com.
Okay.
There's a contact form on it. Yeah, I have to, maybe I should not. I'm at the moment updating the German page, so I have pretty much to do, but I'm working on the English version as well, so it's not totally up to date, but it's working. You know, I'm doing everything by myself in both languages, so it's pretty much.
Yeah, I'm impressed. When did you first start speaking English? Because you
I
speak
learned
it
it
very
at
well.
school.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay.
Yeah. It
Very
was
good.
meant to be. It's part of my soul plan that I learn English. My parents don't know a word, you know. They just know to say yes and no. But this was part of my plan. I had to learn English so that I could communicate with Omnec and so that I can do everything that I do. Everything that I'm doing, I have been trained and prepared for.
Okay. Well, okay. So last question before we wrap up this segment. Are you preparing for a trip to Venus like Raymond? Is that in the future for you?
That would be wonderful. I think the
Right.
Venusians know that I would love to. I would love to go. Sure.
Who
When
wouldn't?
I'm ready, I'm sure it's going to happen. When I'm ready to experience that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you know, when I saw Raymond Keller speak last summer, 2021, he is such a gentle and soft soul. And as I look at myself and trying to shed all of my baggage and negative energy, I can't help but think that it's that level of tenderness and softness that's really what it's going to take to maybe have an experience like that. And
I'm
so,
sure.
yeah, so I think that is most likely, since you're following in this line of ambassadors, we'll call you, from Venus to Earth, I would have to think that that was going to be in your future at some point. Okay,
Thank you.
let's, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back for a second segment, so stick around. We're going to be talking about much more stuff about Venus and soul growth and all that good stuff. Anja, thank you for your time, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you, Bret.
All right.